Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today we're going to be doing our 53rd D&D 3.5 Prestige class review, and we're going to be looking at the Argent Savant Prestige class from the Complete Arcane Sourcebook. The Argent Savant is a master of Force Energy, the purest of all energy types, and as such they specialize in Force spells, so they are often evokers or abjurers. Their name likely comes from the silvery or argentum color that Force Energy has in D&D. To become an Argent Savant, you're going to need 6 ranks in Knowledge Arcana and 12 ranks in Spellcraft. So this is a Prestige class for after 9th level at the minimum. You're also going to need to be able to cast at least 5 Force spells, one of which needs to be 5th level or higher, further reinforcing that level 9 minimum. These Prestige class requirements are hardly restrictive at all, especially for a wizard. You're going to be taking ranks in those skills anyway, and grabbing some scrolls of Force spells won't be too much of a commitment to scribe them into your scroll book. It will be for a little bit more of an issue for sorcerers, but most sorcerers will take Mage Armor and possibly Magic Missile. So that's already 2 out of the 5 spells. A War Mage who commits both of his Advanced Learning spells to Force spells will be able to qualify for this Prestige class as well, with relatively minimal effort. So what do you get as an Argent Savant? Well, this is a 5-level Prestige class, so you get a feature at every level, and spellcasting advancement at all but one of their levels. This already has a Prestige class off to a bad start, but let's keep looking. You do get a D4 hit die, Goodwill save, and half-level base attack bonus, so pretty much the same stats as a Wizard or Sorcerer. For War Mages, the hit die will be a minor downgrade, but not enough to really matter. What does matter are the features. At level 1, you will get Force Specialization, giving you +2 to hit with Force spells, and +1 damage per die on Force spells. So your Orb of Force at level 10 will deal 10d6 plus 10 instead of just 10d6. Or your Magic Missiles will each deal 1d4 plus 2 instead of 1d4 plus 1. For a Blaster, this is going to give you a nice edge, but is it really worth losing a level of spellcasting? Force damage is one of the best damage types, but it's rare it's actually necessary. Usually you're only going to need it when you're fighting something incorporeal. Otherwise, some other damage type will suffice. Even so, spells like Force Missiles, Chain Missiles, and others will appreciate this feature. At level 2, you're going to get Force Armor. Whenever you cast a Force spell that gives a bonus to Armor class, the bonus it gives is increased by 2. So your Mage Armor would instead give +6 to Armor class, and a Greater Mage Armor at level 3 would give you +8 to AC instead of the normal +6. This can essentially completely replace Bracers of Armor until epic levels. And having more Armor class as a wizard is nice, but you are often better with alternative means of protection, like Mirror Image, Displacement, and Greater Invisibility. Illusion tends to provide you with better defense than Abjuration will in all but a few cases. You can cast this on your party's monk to give him a spectacular armor class while saving 64,000 gold, but that's about it, and most of the work is being done by the base spells here. The fighter in your party likely won't have any use for this. It's a nice feature, but it's only a +2. At level 3, you're going to gain Extended Force, which doubles the duration of any Force spells you cast. This is great for making your Mage Armor last a full 24 hours by this time, and it will also make your shield spell last a bit longer, maybe through a couple more encounters, which is a little more relevant. The DC 2 counter or dispel your Force spells is also increased by 4, but this is pretty situational. How often are you going to be running into a monster that can dispel your spells? Fairly often at higher levels, maybe, but that monster also has 3 or more other party members to contend with, so it's unlikely they're going to use their action to dispel your spell. This isn't a hugely useful feature, but it is something. At level 4, you gain the Ablate Force feature. You subtract your class level from damage dealt by a Force spell or effect. In this case, something like multiple Magic Missiles would count as a single source of damage. This is some very situational damage reduction and only 5 at maximum. This would be nicer if it was more significant, and as is, it's unlikely that you will take Force damage often enough for this to really help you. And if you do, it'll probably be so much that a reduction of 5 damage won't save you. Finally, at level 5, you gain Unbind Force. This feature lets you dispel a single Force spell within 60 feet as a standard action. This even works on Walls of Force. You make a caster level check similar to how you dispel magic, but if you do manage to succeed on the dispel, the Force effect explodes in a 10-foot radius and deals 1d6 Force damage per level of the spell. This comes out to roughly 1d6 per 2 caster levels, which is pretty weak even for Force damage, so it's not a good idea to detonate your own spells usually. For a capstone, this is pretty weak. It requires you to run into spellcasters using Force against you, and in this case, ongoing Force spells. On top of that, the damage is pretty weak, and the effect isn't going to come up that often in the first place. And so, overall, it's a disappointing end to the Prestige class. So what should we think of the Argent Savant? It does fit its theme very well of a class focused on Force energy. All of its features relate to force spells in some way. The problem is that force spells, while useful in some situations, don't show up as often as they should for a class that gives up a level of spellcasting advancement for its features. If this prestige class didn't lose any spellcasting advancement, it would obviously be worth taking, as its features easily add up to the value of a feat, that being the bonus feat from Wizard you would miss out on by taking 5 levels in this prestige class. There certainly are prestige classes whose features are good enough to justify losing some spellcasting levels, but Argent Savant is not one of them. It gets 4 stars for concept and 2 stars for execution. The main way to improve this is to give it full spellcasting. A small bonus to armor class and a somewhat decent damage bonus are all you're getting from this prestige class. As is, I would only suggest a 2-level dip, at most. While a +1 damage per die in force spells will make up for the 1d6 damage you'll be losing off of something like Orb of Force by missing a level of spellcasting advancement, it's still not a very powerful option. Evocation is not one of the strongest schools in general, and consequently its features need to be that much more powerful to make up for it. But in this case they aren't, and thus the Argent Savant is relegated to the ranks of mediocre prestige classes. It's worth taking if it fits your character's theme, or if you really like Magic Missile, but it's definitely not one worth chasing after. So that'll be about it for this D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.